Have a seat. Thank you. Well, good evening, everyone. Or good morning. I think that's right. Obviously, I am extremely disappointed in what was just a disaster that played out in the House of Representatives that is attributable to a minority of the House members and to leadership that is anything but. It is a sad day for the state of Louisiana. You saw a minority in the House clearly let politics take priority over people. Our state deserves better. Our state deserves better than what we saw tonight. And it's that same minority that created chaos throughout the end of that session to prevent what was a very serious and responsible plan to fix our problems, maintain our momentum, and allow opportunity and prosperity to continue to flourish in the state of Louisiana. And what they said no to tonight in the House was a plan that would adequately fund our critical priorities. Instead, they chose a course of action that is devastating for kids who are on TOPS, parents of kids who are on TOPS. If you are interested in the Go Grant program for the need-based students out there, higher education in general, sheriffs, DAs, the Department of Education, Corrections, DCFS, youth services, you name it, all across the board. And look, I made it very clear. I was ready to sign a budget and the revenue bills necessary that would actually cut spending by more than $200 million and reduce the tax burden on the people of Louisiana by more than $500 million, and yet it would still have funded our priorities. And I'll remind you that last year, the legislature passed, I don't think with a dissenting vote, a blueprint for a standstill budget that would have cost $205 million more than the budget was on the table today. And I'll also remind you that the Senate passed the budget intending to fund it with a vote of 38-1. Every single Republican voted for it, and every member of the Democratic caucus voted for that budget bill. On the revenue bills, the Senate voted 32-6 for House Bill 12. What's House Bill 12, right? By Walt Leger. 32-6. Now, when it gets to the House, that bill got 63 votes. A clear majority of the House. And yet, it was a bipartisan vote as well, if you take a look at it. When Representative Harris's bill got up there, it got 38 votes. 38 votes. And that's what they tanked the session for. So that they have to come back yet again and spend more taxpayer monies on a special session, draw that per diem. And oh, by the way, the legislature's budget is funded. Yeah, isn't that something? The legislature's budget is fully funded right now. But the budget for the state agencies that actually serve the people of our great state, including our children and our most at-risk people, catastrophically underfunded. It is the height of irresponsibility. And look, that wasn't everything that I wanted. I thought we should have found $648 million in revenue. It was less than 600 at the end of the day. But I knew that it needed to be a compromise, and I knew that we needed bipartisan support, and I was happy to work with the members of the legislature who would work with me. And I want to stop just a minute and thank the members of the Senate. the leadership of the Senate, Republicans and Democrats alike, rank and file members, and I will even stop and say I appreciate most members of the House. But that distinct, hardcore caucus of no in the House of Representatives is standing in the way of the state of Louisiana. And we have got to do better. You know, for starters, I would have preferred a long-term permanent reform instead of something that was going to be temporary. But we were willing to accept it if that was what was required. I thought we should have found more revenue, but we were willing to accept what was on the table because that's what a majority of the folks in the legislature wanted. But look, we have to do better because this is not going to be the budget that carries us into next fiscal year. It just won't. It is unworthy of the people of Louisiana. I guess if there's a silver lining to this cloud, as it was that many instruments did get done, and so the area of disagreement or the body of work that needs to be done the next time we come in is much smaller. The session can be much shorter, and it will be called in a way that we will end several days before the next fiscal year. And obviously, I'm going to continue to do everything that I can to work so that we can continue the momentum that we have in the great state of Louisiana, where more people are working today than ever in our history. Where unemployment is at a 10-year low, where we're routinely announcing the biggest, best economic development projects in our state's history, and where for the first time in 10 years, we have higher education funded in the current year and TOPS funded. But I tell you what, that's not reflected in that budget that came out tonight. We have to do better. Our people deserve it. I will never stop fighting for the future of our state and for the great people of our state. I'm not happy, but I'll take your question, Greg. I will look at all my options tomorrow. There's still some things that we actually have to figure out that as to how all this is going to work, because it's not just the appropriations in the various budget instruments, but it's all the preamble language to what you do with shortfalls and how that gets allocated and what that pro rata distribution is going to look like and how many line items can benefit from the pro rata distribution. But you've got multiple appropriations bills, not just for the executive branch, House Bill 1, but you also have judiciary and legislative, both in the form of a supplemental appropriation. Yes, sir.
Governor, you've stood before the legislature on now a bunch of occasions telling them to do the right thing. You have, at the beginning of the session, at the end of the session, you stood before us to express your disappointment not doing what you thought was the right thing. What makes you think that another special session would be successful?
Well, you had just about every member of the House voted for additional revenue. 34 voted for Lance Harris's bill that would have underfunded the state of Louisiana, and 64 voted for a responsible bill. I am always of the opinion that we can do better. Knowing that only 6 more votes are required, I suspect that we will do better. And so I will never stop. I will never give up on the people of Louisiana. I will fight every single day to put our state first. Yes, ma'am. Well, look, they have every right to be nervous. They have every right to be anxious because we got a group of folks in the legislature who are irresponsible. But I would ask them to take heart in the fact that a clear majority, 64, in the House and 32, I think it was, in the Senate, were absolutely responsible when it came to finding the revenue necessary to fully fund their TOPS, to fund GROW grants for need-based students, and also to fund the higher education institutions themselves, because I don't want to be in the business of giving scholarships to students to go to institutions that are themselves unfunded and unable to deliver world-class education. So it takes all of that. But I want to speak to them right now. I want to speak to those kids and to those parents and tell them that we are not going to allow this to happen. We're going to make sure that TOPS is funded. We're going to make sure that those higher education institutions are properly funded. We just got a little more work to do. It's going to take a little more time. We've got just a handful of more people that we have to convince. And by the way, I would encourage those parents and those students to help us convince them. All they got to do is go to the legislative website, and they can see the name of every legislator who voted against that responsible budget. One that would reduce the tax burden of the state of Louisiana by more than $500 million and yet fund all of our critical priorities. That is just a damn shame. Yes? I don't know yet. Yes. And it will end several days before July 1st. Look, there's not a whole lot of work left to be done in terms of instruments that have to pass. So it will be a short, concentrated special session. Yes, sir.
Kevin, what do you make of the last few moments of the session when
Yeah.
there was an attempt to block the reconsideration of House Bill 12?
It's a crying damn shame. You know, it was obvious that the move that they were making to try to go back to Lance Harris's bill, the one that only got 34 votes, had failed. They knew that if they didn't bring back the vote, the other bill that Walt Leger had, and pass it, they were going to be coming back for another special session, and they still chose to do that anyway. And I will just tell you, it is a total collapse of leadership. The Speaker of the House voted against the bill that 64 members of the body wanted to pass, and then wouldn't allow it to come back up, necessitating yet another special session where they will continue to draw that per diem. It's unbelievable. Yes, ma'am.
Should agencies and parents and higher education institutions start preparing based on the budget that passed? Because come July 1st, they're going to have to, be implementing a new budget. So if I'm a higher ed institution or a parent, should I be preparing for the cuts that are included in the budget that just passed?
Well, obviously, you have to take every necessary precaution. I will say again, you had just about everybody in the House of Representatives tonight voted for more revenue in the budget. And the least responsible approach to that, obviously, was Lance Harris's bill that got the fewest votes. But even that bill would have appropriated more money for the state agencies. I believe at the end of the day, we're gonna do considerably better than that, and we will push to pass a responsible budget, one that funds all of our critical priorities, still affords tax relief to the people of Louisiana by reducing the tax burden by somewhere around $500 million. It will be more than $200 million less than a pure standstill budget, and why that isn't good enough, I will never know. I think it will be good enough in the end. This just isn't the end. And maybe with the fiscal year not ending on June 30th, not ending until June 30th, we have to get there before people see clearly.
Last question.
All right, I guess that's it. Well, God bless you. Keep praying for the state of Louisiana, and I'm going to keep working. And I think at the end of the day, we're going to get it done, but this was a sad night for the people of our great state.